3.2 Mentoring and Coaching. A key component to building competency is mentoring and coaching. Leaders who not only support such programs but actively participate in them will help to build a deeper level of connection with their teams while increasing competency. In terms of persuasion and influence, the participation by the leader supports the principles of reciprocity, commitment and consistency, and scarcity. It's the leader's time. It is recommended that the following key elements be applied in such a program in the cyclical fashion shown below: onboarding, career planning, mentoring, performance review. Figure 6, Career Development Cycle. 3.2.1 Onboarding. When onboarding new staff, it is important to get them to doing meaningful work as soon as possible. Some large organizations will have people sit through days or even weeks of frankly boring training materials. Usually the onboarding process is administered and led by an HR department representative. The leader to whom the new hire will report must be very active in the onboarding of the new hire, and this should start with the recruitment process. The leader to whom they report should even have veto power over whether the hire is made. New hire job task planning should start well ahead of the hire date, and safety training ought to take priority in the first week, as this is needed not only for legal compliance reasons, but to ensure the new hire will be safe in the work environment and they will not be a danger to the people around them. Situational awareness is a big part of safety, and an attitude of situational awareness should be coached for in all areas of work. While huge advances have been made in occupational health and safety in construction and manufacturing environments in the past decades, workers' situational awareness is a key ingredient to creating safe workplaces. In addition to threats, we are surrounded by opportunities if we have the awareness to recognize them. For learning, for teaching, for new business, for process improvement. The new hire should be assigned meaningful work as soon as possible after starting, ideally mixing work in with the formal onboarding. Starting meaningful work early results in the new hire getting a sense of accomplishment and meaning sooner. The work will inevitably require working with others, even if only peer reviewers, and help with relationship building. It will help the organization bottom line by getting the person productive sooner. The new hire does not set into a complacent behavior. It sets the tone of a sense of urgency. As Willink often says, get after it. Reflects the preparedness of the organization, which leads to a positive impression of professionalism. We don't play it by ear. Yes, they may need closer supervision initially. Yes, there may be a little more rework. The best way to learn is by doing and making mistakes. And when the new hire is closely supervised, the mistakes are caught, corrected, and learned from. All the training programs in the world will not achieve this. Another helpful approach is to assign a buddy. Maybe this is the Canadianness coming out. Hey, buddy, what's up, guy? Complete with flapping heads for South Park fans out there, to the new hire. This buddy is the go-to person the new hire can rely on for help in navigating the new systems and processes. This also goes towards building relationships. During onboarding, the supervisor must be keenly aware of whether or not the new hire will be successful in the organization in the long term. It is almost always known within a month or two if the person will not succeed in any way in the organization. It may be that they are in the wrong position and could fit elsewhere, but if they are not going to work out, fire fast. Keeping non-performers in the organization is a drain on morale and reduces the level of mutual respect in the organization. The supervisor of a non-performer won't feel respect for the non-performer, and if the supervisor does not have the authority to fire, will also lose respect for the next level of authority if action is not taken. Not only that, but the supervisor feels a lack of respect or even disrespect from their leader for their recommendation to fire being ignored. The degeneration of respect has a very corrosive effect and must be stopped as soon as possible. Explained in Appendix 3. A very experienced VP of engineering at a client shared with me their red flags for when they bring in new consultants, and these red flags scale down to when onboarding new talent. Any of these should make you reevaluate whether this new hire should stay on board, especially for mid-level and senior hires. Driver or passenger? At meetings, are they just along for the ride? Do they contribute anything or only wait until called upon? Do they volunteer to take on work? Punctuality. If they are not punctual for internal meetings, will they be punctual for client meetings? I don't buy the some cultures aren't punctual nonsense. One of the most hard-ass people I ever knew was a client originally from Trinidad who once told a sales guy that was late for an appointment without giving a call or text to let the client know he would be late, "Don't ever come back here again." Allowing tardiness is not cultural sensitivity. It is disrespectful to other people's time, the one thing in life we have a finite amount of, and once spent, never get back. That said, when someone is late with good reason, show grace, but habitual lateness, no. Follow up. When they make a commitment, do they get it done? Make it happen or wait and hope? Are they proactive about getting things done? Do they pick up the phone and call the supplier to push for information or parts, or just wait, or maybe send an email? Younger people often need coaching on this and are conflict avoidant. Coaching is possible on these red flags if they happen one at a time. If they are all present, this is probably not someone you want on the bus. 3.2.2 Career Planning. The only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. Henry Ford. In the modern professional organization, I would substitute training with development, and I think this comes closer to the spirit of what Ford was aiming at. Career planning is the process by which we accelerate people's development. Career planning is a form of forced reflection, enabling the development of wisdom and accelerating the development of competencies the individual desires to build and that benefit the organization. The basic process is to identify the individual's aspirations, short-term, medium, long-term. Identify any limitations or restrictions they have to travel, relocation, etc. During a planning session, review with an organizational leader who understands the strategic plan. The session is facilitated by their mentor. Identify win-wins where the individual is advancing to aspirations in a manner that also advances organizational strategic objectives. This should be doable if the right people are getting on the bus, as outlined in section 2.1. There should be homework done by the individual in advance of a career planning session, with thought put towards what are their aspirations and realistic limitations. This should be put on paper and reviewed by their mentor and the leader in advance of the career planning session. There is certainly an art to this process, and it takes a few iterations to get not bad at it and years of practice to get good at it. In the absence of a well-defined, well-communicated, and well-understood strategy, this process may be of limited value to the organization. The Japanese have a wonderful concept called ikigai, summarized in the figure below. Figure 7, ikigai. The top and left of the diagram in the career planning are the individual, and the bottom and right are the organization. And if we are doing a good job of getting the right people on the bus, then finding opportunities for ikigai should not be too hard. The final output from the career planning session should be a development plan with specific actions. This could be coursework or other training, a particular type of project when the opportunity arises, a specific strategic project. Discussion during subsequent mentoring sessions should focus on specific skills being developed in the context of progress across the development plan. The development plan also gives the supervisor a level of situational awareness about the individual team member so that when decision making is underway, if there is a particular opportunity to work on a specific initiative that would be of special interest to the particular individual, they may be assigned to that opportunity, providing a highly motivated team member to that initiative. 3.2.3 Mentoring or coaching and the one-to-one meeting. Should we mentor or coach people? Why does this need to be an or question? Both of these relationships have their place where people will benefit from them. Mentoring is a more relational process and is led by the mentee to leverage the past experience of the mentor in their development. Coaching is led by the coach and is more targeted to the development of specific skills and has more concrete goals. Direct supervisors will tend to be coaches and have specific goals for the players to work towards that are related to their areas of responsibility. When a mentee is working with a mentor, the mentee will have their own goals that they are working towards with the help of a mentor. Mentoring is typically a voluntary activity, while coaching is typically a paid position. So, In the context of organizational development, a leader will need to play both of these roles, and there is great value in being able to switch back and forth between the roles depending on the individual you're helping. It is valuable for a leader to be able to function in both capacities. Once again, past experience in athletics through coaching can be really valuable. Even as a player, having been on the receiving end of coaching will be instructive. Coaches are not always soft and cuddly, and in fact, my favorite ones had some seriously hard edges. Coaches will be supportive, but occasionally, maybe more than occasionally, players need a kick in the rear end to get going. When a player is being complacent, a coach should call them out privately. Mentors can do the same thing, but it is usually a lot gentler. A leader knows when each style is needed. It is perhaps instructive to examine the way in which different sports are coached. Examining rugby and American football, we see two sports that have a lot of similarities, both physically very demanding, requiring both finesse and violence. Despite these similarities, the approaches to coaching are very different, especially on game day. In football, one of the coaches is calling each and every play. In rugby, the coach sits in the stands and the players decide the plays that will be called when there are set pieces, and the game itself is much more improvisational. I argue that high-performing businesses where the leader can have time to work on the business and not in it are going to be a lot more like a rugby game than a football game. The leader will prepare their players to go out and perform, make personnel choices, and provide instruction at a few key times, but the players decide independently how to execute. In any case, a key benefit to a formal coaching or mentoring program should be a development plan for the employee, which comes out of their career planning discussed above. This plan should get regular follow-up, at minimum every 2 months, between the employee and their mentor or coach. Many organizations have an annual review that incorporates goals for the next year. Too often, after the performance review, the goals collect dust and nobody looks at these goals for another year. It is a giant missed opportunity to help that person manifest their potential. We chose to label our program as mentoring and focus on the more relational aspects as our work was project-based. People would get plenty of coaching from supervisors as it relates to highly goal-oriented project work. In reality, our mentoring program was probably 70 to 80% mentoring and 20 to 30% coaching. In an organization that is not client-facing and the work is more routine, a coaching program may be more appropriate. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to this, and the leaders should educate themselves on coaching and mentoring. When mentoring, empathetic listening with the intent to understand and the use of open-ended questions are crucial. Where I draw the line between mentoring and coaching is the following. Coaching is a coach-led process. Mentoring is a mentee-led process. A coaching style one-to-one meeting might take the form of status updates, 2-week look back, 2-week look ahead, with the coach largely setting the agenda but still leave some room for the player to ask questions and use some of the coach's time to help provide guidance on specific issues. The purpose of this type of meeting is largely immediate performance and on getting things done. In contrast, the purpose of a mentoring one-to-one is almost exclusively for the development of the mentee, and the mentee comes to the meeting with an agenda of what they want to discuss. The development plan prepared during career planning is used as a touchstone and may get amended. This is not an either-or situation. Both types of meetings can be used at situationally dependent frequencies. Generally, the mentoring one-to-one is harder to do well for a mentor who is used to the coaching paradigm. It takes more patience, better listening, better questioning, more of a human touch in general. It is immensely valuable for relationship building. We retained the services of a professional coach, Lawrence King, to train our mentors on how to do mentoring better. This was a worthwhile investment. Some of the highlights that stuck out for me: flexibility and communication from empathetic, open, collaborative, creative at one end to direct, strong, powerful, holding accountable at the other, spending most of the time on empathetic end, but occasionally may need to go to strength. 4-to-1 principle. 4 times as much talking by the mentee as the mentor, positive as negative, diagnosis as solution, business as personal. Return for high versus low performers, i.e. the high performers get much more acceleration in their development than do the low performers. As the mentor, know this and do not be overly frustrated by it. Nonverbal communication really matters. Be present and put the damn cell phone away. Lean in. Help the mentee to see opportunity in difficulties and adversity. Situational analysis and exploration through the use of open-ended questions. What, how, where? Be careful on asking why. Why questions can be loaded with judgment, and you may have the mentee close off, cutting off exploration. Using the above tools, help the mentee to build an action plan that includes action steps, barriers, resources, completion dates, and benefits. 3.2.4 Performance Management, Measurement, and Review. Performance reviews are an interesting topic. Can an organization function and see improvement without formal performance reviews? Yes. Can formal performance reviews deliver value? Yes. Any organization that wants to start measuring performance and adopt the oh-so-popular key performance indicators for individual performance should first read Jerry Mueller's excellent Tyranny of Metrics. In short, what Mueller explores is the idea that managers and leaders are surrendering judgment and discernment to metrics. That is, handcuffing themselves to what metrics say instead of relying on discernment of the various inputs to determine what an appropriate response is. This reduces discernment to a simple, if metric says X, then action is Y. If the employee scores 90% on metric X, then they get a bonus of $10,000. Let's illustrate this with a real-life story from my career. We were working on a large capital expansion for a client. On this project, the client project managers had a KPI of on-time project completion. If the KPI was met, senior project management at the client would get a significant bonus. There were no KPIs on whether the facility would work trouble-free and reliably after handover to operations. Our scope was done well as it tied into other existing operations, and if there were any lack of reliability, it would be immediately visible, and because we just do things the right way. Other teams were responsible for other aspects of the facility that did not tie into existing operations. Project got done on time, bonuses awarded, and after official handover, the client's operations people ended up spending another 3 years of misery fixing things that should never have gotten through the commissioning and qualification. Classic perverse incentive. Discerning judgment cannot be allowed to play second fiddle to metrics. Discerning judgment can actually be a leading indicator of performance. Some metrics can be leading indicators. Most that are used in performance review are lagging indicators. A leading indicator is some form of measurement that provides predictive power of what will be. A lagging indicator is a measurement of what was. Typical financial statements are the most commonly used lagging indicators. When it comes to leading individual people, the best form of performance review is contemporaneous feedback, including and especially praise and error correction. Both of these are discussed above. Refer to section 3.1.7. Then the question becomes, what is the point of a formal performance review? There are a few possible answers, in descending order of importance. To provide feedback to help the individual improve. To get feedback from the team member on the organization and supervisor's performance to stimulate improvement. To provide a milestone or marker. The person on the receiving end of the review can now mark the navigation in the next year on where they were at that documented point in time. To get metrics in place for bonus compensation determination. To document poor performance in support of a termination and to put the person on notice through a performance improvement plan. Regarding number 2, it is important that here we combine the active listening habit. This is a really great opportunity for growth. Some of my biggest lifts in performance as a leader came from listening to the feedback from team members, including co-op students. Actively listening to their feedback and being grateful for it makes the person feel respected. Acting on it makes them feel like they made a difference. Receiving the feedback with gratitude is a way of showing respect to the team member. Number 1 and 2 are relational and about leadership. Number 3 and 4 are transactional and about management. There needs to be a balance between these aspects. Most organizations suffer from an overly transactional performance review process. It doesn't need to be that way. If metrics are used, The analysis should be connected to the strategic map concept presented in section 2.2.1. The metrics may change from year to year depending on the strategic needs of the organization, but be careful of perverse incentives. Bottom line of KPIs. Be careful of creating perverse incentives and do not be tyrannized by metrics by throwing discernment and judgment out the window. Otter's comment about change efforts being overmanaged and underled comes to mind. Discerning judgment is a key component of leadership. Second chances are great. We all need them in life, maybe even a third chance. In a family, you might give a child many chances. In a high-performing business, keeping a non-performer erodes mutual respect. Putting them in a performance improvement plan and giving them multiple chances beyond what is reasonable will hurt your organization. The leader will be perceived as weak and loses the respect of the team. The rest of the team's workload is increased to cover for the non-performer, and even worse, the non-performer is taking up salary, which otherwise would be directed to pay out bonus to the other workers actually producing. Resentment builds, the high performers get fed up and leave. Low performance environments attract and retain low performers. High performance environments attract and retain high performers. 3.2.5 Promotions. When we were a smaller company, 20 to 30 people, a lot of the time the transition to a new position was organic. Someone would start at an entry-level position and work on a project directly supporting me as president and still wearing a PM hat from time to time. Often these projects would span 2 to 3 years, and by the end of the project this person was the PM and I was acting as senior technical support/principal. Generally, the people that went through this process became high performers. The habits discussed above were lived out and their development was greatly accelerated. These people went on to form the core of senior leaders in our organization. However, this creates a time lag to being able to scale the organization if the growth is strictly organic. Therefore, a hybrid approach is necessary in order to be able to unlock more rapid or immediate growth in the face of a pressing opportunity. The point here, though, is that in this organic process, we often missed the opportunity to formally recognize this person's promotion. It just kind of happened. A more formal public recognition and celebration would have capitalized on the opportunity for a morale boost and to show to other young people the success of one of their peers, piquing their curiosity on how it was done, likely motivating them to do the same. The recognition of achievement makes a person feel respected. In real life, not everyone is a winner, and when people do get a real win, it is an opportunity to genuinely celebrate. We should have done this better, and from discussions with other business leaders, this is an effective tactic. When someone is being promoted organically, another potential miss is the reboarding opportunity. It is easy to take some key aspects for granted with internal hires that would not be for an external hire. The reboarding program should be abbreviated versus a full onboarding. If the promotion is into a position of leadership, then the following quote is apt, and they should be presented with this idea. Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. I love this quote as it encapsulates a lot, and especially the idea of scalability. There's only so much one individual can do. If you, as a leader, can rapidly grow the people around you to high capability and keep them engaged, you have greatly upwardly scaled the results that can be achieved and hopefully their meaningfulness. 3.2.6 Exit Interview. Before you get to an exit interview, you will have received notice of an employee's intent to resign. If you have been doing the rest of your job right, this will be in a face-to-face with the team member and you will know before HR. My approach to this was to almost never try to get them to change their mind, especially by offering more money or perks. In my opinion, this offer of more is disrespectful. Why didn't you already make the offer? They are an adult and they have made up their mind. Be happy for them. They are moving on. You have been a part of their life and hopefully had a positive impact on them. The exit interview may be an opportunity to get constructively critical feedback that was not provided in regular performance reviews. More often than not, though, people will be reluctant to be too candid in an exit interview for fear of burning a bridge or leaving some undesirable note in their file should a possible future employer call for a reference and a less than discreet HR staffer divulges more information than they ought to. Function of the exit interview should be to make the departing employee feel like they are valued, and if you want them to come back, to let them know they are welcome back. Often the boomerangs are really great employees. They have gone out into the wider world and experienced things from outside your organization and can bring back some potentially game-changing insights for you. One of our biggest sources of turnover was employees leaving to work at our clients. They often became some of our biggest advocates simply because they understood from the inside our level of commitment to our clients and to our employees. The exit interview is an opportunity to say farewell. I love the French au revoir. In English, until we meet again. 3.3. Closing. At the level of the individual, competence can be described as a combination of knowledge and wisdom. In an organization, this individual competency needs to be augmented by perseverance, humility, and emotional intelligence. With the right people on the bus and the right people leading with the right habits, a virtuous cycle is created wherein competency is continuously being generated while the desired results are being achieved. Appendix 1 and 3 explore theoretical frameworks that are relevant, and significant outcomes of success in the above for people in the organization are that 1. They will feel respected, RI, see Appendix 3. They will have respect for the people around them, RO, see Appendix 3. This is as a result of being surrounded by capable people who voluntarily undertake hardships in support of one another, in executing the organization's mission, and in their learning journeys. They will independently pull together to make things happen, especially when times get tough.